Hello, welcome to the Superbone channel. We've been interviewing top trombonists from around the world. And today we have an Irish trombonist, Paul Dunlea. Say hi, Paul.
Hey, how are you, man?
Paul is a composer, has his own big band, and also has toured with the likes of Michael Buble, Frankie, Valli, a massive list of people. He has 2 jazz albums he's released and working on one at the moment. And also, as I said before, has his own big band. So I'm sure many of you know Paul. Pops over the channel every now and then to do a gig. So it's good to have you here on the channel, Paul. Thanks for joining us. How have you been coping over there in Ireland?
You know what? I'm very lucky. My full-time job outside of all the freelance and arranging stuff, and I'm actually I'm in the military here in Ireland.
Yep.
And have been for 20 years.
Yep.
So I have a salary coming in. We've been working bits and pieces, and outside of that, on the outside of stuff, it's kind of worked out where I've been busy doing a lot of kind of online projects and online recordings and stuff.
Yep.
But it's also kind of freed up a lot of time for me to kind of start focusing on my own stuff a bit more.
Great.
Countless hours not traveling and stuck.
Yeah.
But it's been really good to kind of have time to write for me.
Yeah.
Without any kind of deadlines and stuff like that. So it's been really good.
Fantastic. Let's crack on and talk about favourite jazz trombonists. Someone that you look up to, that you've learnt off over the years, maybe?
Just so many. I suppose chronologically going back, I suppose just obviously J.J. Johnson, Frank Rossellino, Carl Fontana, Bill Watrous.
Yeah.
I suppose moving towards the modern day kind of stuff. I think the first time I heard Elliot Mason, I wanted to snap my trombone in half and just take another path. I think the first time I heard that live 55 bar album with I think it's Yannick Gwozdala, and that album absolutely melted my head. Still listen to that today. It's ridiculous.
He's phenomenal, isn't he? Just chops to burn, and that language is
There's no play the horn like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's good to strive towards even getting close to him.
Like I've transcribed some stuff.
Yep.
And what takes him a minute or like instantly to come up with on a gig takes me a week to break down a bar or two, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Outside of him, then as well, there's the likes of Marshall Gilks and Trevor Myers in London is a ridiculous player.
Yeah.
There's so many, you know. Been lucky enough to work with some of them. Meet most of them, well, not the older guys, but like most of the guys from today. Been lucky enough to sit in sections with the likes of Nick Vanias and Brian Keberle. You know, really monster players.
Do you find you've learnt more from sitting beside them than listening to their recordings?
Absolutely, yeah. On both those instances, they were in big band situations, and they were on lead on both occasions. It's just like, you know, the etiquette and of being in a big band section. You know, you have to take every inflection from the lead player, and they just make it so easy.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. So, I mean, growing up, obviously, you started listening to JJ and I guess the big guys that everyone's mentioned. Was there a particular recording that you listened to early on that you can recall?
Well, do you know what? But my path to jazz is kind of a bit weird. I came to it quite late. I was in the army. I joined the army in 2001, and there was a saxophonist in the band. I think the first jazz piece, if you could call it that I was trying to nail down was Tommy Dorsey's Trombonology. I don't know if you know, the kind of one with all the turns and stuff. But I'd actually just had the sheet music, and I was working on that. And that saxophonist, Michael Lynch was his name. He kind of played a lot of Dixieland and stuff, and asked me if I'd be interested in playing jazz. I never had up until then. It was mostly just classical stuff, you know.
Okay.
And he had a residency in a hotel every Sunday.
Yep.
And I ended up going with him down one Sunday, and just 10 years later, I was still playing with him. So I just kind of did an apprenticeship on the bandstand, kind of rather than studying it through college and stuff. I did go back later and study it all in college,
of course,
properly. But the first instances of it were Dixieland. So I think the first jazz trombonists I was actually listening to before I before I delved into JJ and all those, was the like Chris Barber and Jack Teagarden and all that kind of stuff first, you know.
Yeah.
So and Tommy Dorsey and stuff, but yeah, geez, Jack Teagarden, Kid Ory, all types of players were ridiculous, you know.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic to hear you talk about the older guys like Teagarden, because you know, it can be quite easy to just start at JJ and continue from there, but you know.
Yeah. So like you listen to play ballads like he obviously the dexterity on the instrument was ridiculous, but like you hear him play ballads like Stars Fell on Alabama and all that crap, it's still amazing today, you know.
Yeah. So would you what trombonist would you say you try to sound like the most then?
I don't know if I try to sound like anyone. I think it's probably best to try like elements of what you can not replicate, but even strive to try and replicate from the likes of Elliot.
Yeah.
I love Marshall Justice's playing. I think it's just the cleanest trombone playing you'll hear.
Yeah.
And then there's like just the raw aggression of Frank Rossellino. You could practice forever and a day, and you still won't be able to replicate the way he played his horn.
Yeah, of course.
But I think if I strive to get better, you know, I'll hear. I think that yesterday I was transcribing Chris Potter and trying to play some Chris Potter on the horn.
Yeah.
You know. Like I tend to transcribe a lot of pianists. I think that's probably trying to kill two birds with one stone, from kind of like looking at their approach to harmony from my arranging point of view, as well as looking at their linear lines. I think you kind of subliminally kind of digest their linear lines then when you're analysing their harmony. So that kind of translates across to the horn then as well, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's quite different approach when you're talking about pianists, because you know they've got everything in front of them, but harmonically they can do so much more quicker. You know, I mean, they can take the tune to a different place that, you know, we obviously only have one note we can play. So it really does change the way you think. I don't even know how people play piano. I am just not good at
it. I own one.
Yeah, I've got one of those little mini ones. You know, I just play one note at a time.
I write at the piano.
Okay.
I try and stay out of writing on Sibelius.
Yep.
If you know any of those kind of notation softwares, I still try my best to write with either the horn in my hand or at the piano, sketch it out, and literally just use Sibelius stuff as an engraving tool.
Yep.
Yeah. Obviously, it gets to bigger orchestral kind of things, bits and pieces. You do cheat from time to time. I don't call it cheating, but you know what I mean. I do try and keep my ear more in by literally playing at the piano. Yes. I can't. I've got what they call a ranger's piano. You know, I'd never be able to gig on it.
Let's move on, and we can talk about your career. Obviously, I don't know you that well, so I'd like to hear kind of your first teachers and influences, and how you got to where you are.
Well, I suppose as I was talking to you earlier, like college and all that kind of stuff came very late for me. I didn't study music in college until I was 30.
Yep.
So I went from what you'd call high school here. I studied electronic engineering for a couple of years, and but I was always in a local concert band. Played trombone from the age of 11, up until when I left secondary school here around 18. I went to college, studied electronics, still playing the whole time, but never really thought about doing it professionally until I saw advertisement for the local military band. Did the audition, and it's funny, the guy that taught me from the beginning, from when I was 11, his name is Philip O'Reilly. I ended up sitting next to him in the army band section for best parts of 15 years. He's still in the army, but he's just moved off to another band. He's up in Dublin. So yeah, my first teacher and biggest influence was him. And then when I joined the military, and still to be sitting next to him was brilliant. You know, it's the absolute best mates. Still to this day. And
that's great.
And then the saxophonist I was telling you about earlier on that introduced me to jazz pretty much was in the band as well. You know, Michael Lynch was his name. So in a roundabout way, joining the army is actually absolutely after setting me on the path I have been on for the last 20 years, even though there isn't any jazz as such to do with the army. It's just the way it's worked out, you know.
Yep. And where did you do your masters then, or your degree?
I did everything here in Cork. Again, I went back to study the degree full time and then a master's afterwards. But while still serving in the military, I couldn't take huge blocks of time off.
Yep.
Even selecting the modules at college had to be timetabled around what engagements we had and stuff at work. And if it wasn't for like the bosses at work being really, really sound and gone above and beyond to make me, to enable me to be able to go back to college, I wouldn't have been able to do so. But I think like at 30 when I went back, I think I was surprised about the amount of stuff I didn't know.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd been arranging and writing and gigging for 10 years, but there was a load of holes in my education that I probably glossed over, didn't even realize were there,
Okay, yep. Yeah.
So after I'd delved into college, the writing went up a notch, I'd like to think. The arranging went up. I got more diligent in practicing and all of that. And yeah, it's just kind of escalated from there, really.
Great. It's an interesting path you've taken to be working for. How long were you in the army before you studied?
I was 10 years. Yeah.
10 years, yeah. So that's really interesting to me that, you haven't done a degree first and then you've ended up with a music job before you even studied.
Yeah, and I'd already been touring extensively and working, freelancing all over the place before I'd gone back to study,
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, I guess, largely kind of self-taught, I guess, by, just going into the army and learning on the job.
Yeah.
Brilliant. There you go. Let's move on. One of the questions I really like to ask is, do you have a funny story from your performing or a rehearsal? Something strange that happened.
I have a couple, but there's one that really stands out because anyone who's listening to this can actually go and see it on YouTube. There's a big band that I play in Dublin called the Hot House Big Band. I think maybe I'd want to say between 7 or 8 years ago. We were just doing a usual Monday night residency gig, and we were playing. I think it was a Gordon Goodwin chart, Few Good Men or something like that. I think is the name of it. I just standing up to take a blow. I had 5 or 6 bars empty before. I think I had a pickup bar or 2 before the bar 1 of the A. So the big blistering as much as you can, 1 or 2 bars beforehand. So I'd stood up to change the height of the mic, put the mic up, sat back down, and on the downbeat, as I sat back down, the chair beneath me completely collapsed. And all you can see is, if you check it out on YouTube, I don't mind if people want to see it enough. I literally collapsed to the ground on the downbeat. The whole band starts roaring. The saxophones have no idea what's going on. Drummers after losing this shit. And I managed to get up and get on with it, but it's just the fact that it happened on the downbeat where I just collapsed. And I remember it happens in Dublin. I live in Cork. It's about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive to Dublin.
Yep. And
I finished the gig maybe midnight, and I got home 3 in the morning, maybe 2:30 or whatever.
Yeah.
I plug it in my mobile before I went to bed. I'd work at 8 a.m. or something like that, usual. And I remember looking at the Facebook icon on my phone, and it had like an 81 in red. The biggest number of notifications I'd ever seen. So I opened it up. Someone had posted it onto YouTube, and it was just shared everywhere. By the time I'd gotten from the gig up to home, it was everywhere.
It was brilliant.
I think the best thing about it is, if I keep mentioning it and sharing it, I can't get the piss taken out of it.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, did you hurt the horn, or did you hurt yourself, or was it just pride?
I don't think I was consciously protecting anything. I was more in shock than anyone,
Yeah.
I think I managed to just hold it up or something. I still came in time. There's that.
Yeah, true professional.
Yeah, but it's just like that 1 second of your life that you wish no one was pointing a phone at you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Well, I'll have to find that, and I'll definitely post a link to that, and we'll get you some more views. Great. Well, just one last thing. Thanks for joining us on the channel. We would like to kind of shine a spotlight onto something you're doing, or about to do, hopefully when all the restrictions are lifted. Tell us about current project.
I'm MD of the New Irish Jazz Orchestra, and we potentially have a concert that's been in the book for quite a while from the 26th of September.
Yeah.
We're waiting on word as to whether we can go ahead with it or not, but until I get absolute confirmation it's off, and just keep writing for that, you know.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was lucky enough to tour the UK and other parts of Europe in January with a new quartet of mine.
Oh, great.
And we played a whole new set of original music, and I was hoping to have had that album recorded in May.
Yeah.
So as soon as COVID allows, I guess we're going to hit the studio as fast as we can.
Fantastic.
Try and get that done. But other than that, yeah, just tipping away, arranging for other people, and
just keeping,
as I said earlier, having the time to compose for myself for the first time in years is great, you know.
Fantastic. Well, it's good to hear. We'll definitely keep an eye out for projects, and we'll let people know when they're happening. And I'm sure if you see anything that has Paul in it, please do go along, check him out. I've seen a couple of videos, phenomenal player. So really pleased he's agreed to an interview with me. So thanks very much for joining us here on the Superbone channel, Paul.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much, and stay safe, and we'll see you again. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Superbone channel. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to hear about any new videos coming up.